Welcome to the program. The courts are busy and we'll bring you all the updates as far as what's happening in court is concerned. Welcome to Lunchtime Politics. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Here we give you the all-access pass to the biggest happening in politics and in the polity at midday. Let's get started with the headlines. Federal High Court Abuja orders final forfeiture of 48 assets linked to former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, following an initial interim forfeiture order. Senate says funding of state police will be by direct deductions from the Federation account via first-line charge to safeguard against abuse by state governments. And students and teachers who were rescued from abductors in Oriire have been reunited with their families. We examine how safe are our schools and students in Nigeria. Welcome again to the program. Let's begin with what just happened less than 20 minutes ago at the Federal High Court, where Justice Muhammad Umar of the Federal High Court, sitting in Abuja, is threatening to foreclose the defense of Oriire if he fails to continue his defense. That's the governor, the presidential candidate of the AAC. The judge made the order due to the absence of Mr. Shore's lawyer in court to bring more witnesses to testify on his behalf. At the resumed sitting, Mr. Shore was present in court, but none of his counsel were in court. Shore says Lumide Pushika SAN is in the United Kingdom with the knowledge of the court, and the lawyer standing in for him, Raphael Adokole, is out of jurisdiction. He prayed the court for an adjournment to allow his lawyers to be present in court to handle his defense and an opportunity for him to move an application orally. Justice Muhammad Umar noted that he can only move the application if he wants to defend himself. In response, the prosecuting counsel, Akinlolu Kehinde, noted that the court had adjourned until today for the defense team to serve the subpoena signed by the judge to the respective parties. However, we can go on and on, but at the end of the day, the matter has now been adjourned until July the 22nd. As far as the issue of Oriire is concerned. But that's not all that's playing out in court. We can also tell you that the court, Federal High Court Abuja, has denied bail to a man arrested by the Department of State Services for allegedly planning multiple attacks on several schools in the FCT. Justice Joyce Abdulmalik denied John Jude Agbo bail after the prosecution presented a fourth witness and thereafter closed its case against him. Agbo faces terrorism and cybercrime charge for allegedly planning to harm schools, their students and teachers. With ruling on the defendant's bail application, the trial judge held that there were no evidence to show that Agbo would not jump bail. The judge ordered that he be remanded in custody of the Nigeria Correctional Service. So those are some of the, I told you that there's a lot to track, but let's get back to some other thing. Now we can confirm to you that over 40 property linked to the former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Malami Abubakar, has now been forfeited on orders of Justice Joyce Abdulmalik of the Federal High Court. The judge granted the application of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission after holding that the respondent failed to rebut the reasonable suspicion that the properties were acquired through unlawful activities. Before delivering the substantive judgment, the judge dismissed several applications, motions on notice and application to show cause filed by Mr. Malami, his family members, and some companies linked to the properties, describing them as wanting in merit. The judge, Abdulmalik, relied principally on Section 17 of the Advance Fee Fraud and Other Fraud-Related Offences Act in granting the final forfeiture. However, she vacated the interim forfeiture order in respect of some of the property. Busy day for the courts, and we'll continue to bring you up to speed as far as these issues are concerned, whether it's Oriire or the man was planning multiple attacks, or the final forfeiture being ordered by the court. But we can tell you other stories as well, where normalcy can say to have been restored in Oriire, local government area of Oyo State, following the release of the abducted pupils and their teachers, as families reunite with their loved ones, while 9 victims are still receiving treatment at the hospital. Businesses are reopening, daily activities are picking up, and students sitting for examinations without disruption despite the recent security challenge, although there's heightened security presence, which residents say has increased their courage to move forward after that very traumatic experience and incident. Meanwhile, the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has announced a donation of 50 million naira support package for 5 families affected by the recent kidnapping incident in the Oriire local government area of the state.
Ahuru, Esiele and Yawata, once quiet rural communities, became the center of national attention after children were abducted from their classrooms. The peace these communities had enjoyed for decades was shattered by the deadly May 15 attack. Schools closed, businesses shut down, and many residents fled for safety. Today, life is gradually returning. Though the memories remain painful, residents are determined to rebuild and reclaim the peace they once knew. From traders and artisans to farmers and gari sellers, daily activities are picking up once again in Ahuru Dada, Yawata and Esiele. Schools have reopened and students fresh from their examinations are returning home in large numbers, refusing to let fear define their future. One teacher says the release of the abducted pupils and colleagues has brought relief, but anxiety still lingers.
They were happy that the students in captivity were released, but I see that fear that some of them will be asking, Oga, when are they going to bring soldiers and police that will be looking after us? So we will just assure them that the government is doing their best to ensure that there will be security.
Parents, overwhelmed with emotion, say they are grateful to see their children back home, even as they struggle to come to terms with the ordeal. Residents, however, insist that lasting peace will depend on stronger security, improved road networks, and better public services.
This is my community, and I will not pray my community to collapse. Because my father that I'm talking today, he is too attended. So I will not let the school to collapse. So by the grace of God, so we get back to the school.
Meanwhile, the remaining 9 victims are still receiving treatment. The Chief Medical Director of Lautech Teaching Hospital, Ugbomoso, says arrangements have been made to ensure continued care and rehabilitation after their discharge.
As of today, 8 of the children are still with us, that the specialists in various areas believe still need further evaluation and care, and 1 of the adults. And we hope that within the shortest possible time, we'll get them released to their family. We believe family reunion is one of the healing processes, and we will not have reason to delay anybody or keep anybody unnecessarily in the hospital. You may wish to ask what happens thereafter. We have a well-organized social work department, medical social workers, well-organized. We have standby ambulances, and we are working closely with the Comprehensive Health Center that is at Ikoyi, which is within the locality of the incident, so that if there is...
Health experts say sustained medical care, counseling, and psychosocial support will play a crucial role in helping the 44 rescued victims recover fully and reintegrate into normal life despite the trauma they had to endure. Bukola Oriire, Channels Television News.
Let's bring in my guest. My guest is Oluwasegun Oyedijo, is the Southwest Coordinator of Coalition of Civil Society Organizations on Out-of-School Children. Mr. Oyedijo, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Good afternoon, everyone.
We're grateful. some kind of a sigh of relief, though it's mixed feeling because civilians lost their lives, including 2 teachers, and then some of our military officers also paid the supreme price in this very exercise. I'm talking about Oriire in Oyo State, around the Ogbomosho axis of that state. But we still have others still in abductors then in places like Borno. We just recently had one in Kogi State where a NECO official, student, and I think principal were also abducted. I understand one of the students had actually escaped. So it looks like it's never ending. I want your initial thoughts on what you think is playing out. The analysts and the experts will say schools and places of worship are soft targets. Now that we know what it is in terms of this soft target, are we doing enough to curtail the excesses of these people?
Okay, thank you very much for the wonderful question. It is my pleasure to set this background that I'm excited seeing the short video you played from that very community and seeing people from that interior side of the country with that level of expression, expressing themselves in English at that level of professionalism, shows us the interest and the importance of education. And for any nation who understands the essence of education as the way of building the future of the nation, it is empirical for such country to put utmost attention on education. Now to your question. Now, yes, churches, schools, anywhere you find good number of people looks like the target for these people we are talking about. But the good thing is that we thank God for the results we are having, that at least for the first time the case is what it is. And we are all excited as a fellow Nigerian and humanitarians and humans. So we are excited, and we give kudos to the government for fantastic effort they have put in place, that this did not come back to be another Chibok experience. So all thanks to all the structures, that everyone that have worked in achieving this. All right, but what I will say is, to what you have said, this is the reality of the day. And the good thing we need to do is for us to be proactive and not being reactive. If we have seen it in place, we have seen it coming over and over again, the best bet we can do for ourselves is to make sure we are proactive. Let us put good structure in place to forestall reoccurrence of this kind of ugly, and I mean ugly, absolutely ugly scenario. Nobody want to go through pain, and not even our children. What is happening now with all the effort we are putting in place for the out-of-school children to come to school? See what we are saying today. I remember my grandma died at 116 last year, and why she didn't go to school was because of the experience. They said they don't want the white people to carry their children away. That is why they didn't allow them to go to school then. Now in 2026 now, we are still having fear in people going to school. So we don't want kidnappers to carry our children. But it is the reality of the day. We are pleading with all the structures. We are pleading with everyone that has anything to do regarding the safety of schools and of children in the Federal Republic of Nigeria to please be proactive, not being reactive. Thank you.
That being proactive is what I want to interrogate and query and ask for your proposal, because as we speak, I'm looking at the data. Maybe at some point my producer will share that data from SBM Intelligence, one of these data analytics organization that puts together how things happen across different sectors, whether it's economy or security. I'll read a line from it for you. Nigeria's kidnapping crisis has evolved into a lucrative criminal enterprise with 2.56 billion naira That's about $1.66 million, confirmed in ransom payment, and over 4,700 civilians abducted in just 1 year. The Northwest remains the most violent, while the Southeast and South-South face targeted religious abductions and financial extortion. This is mid-year 2024 to mid-year 2025. Look at the numbers: 4,722, 2.56 billion. This is no longer just anything. This is an enterprise, literally. Now, why I had to bring and pull up this data for you to, for me to ask my question is to the fact that if something is consistent, they say first time could be an accident, the second will be called coincidence, and then the third one will be, they'll consider it deliberate. Now that we know that the modus operandi of these people are soft targets, what can schools begin to do without necessarily waiting for government? I know government has a bigger role to play, because in America, for instance, because of the mass shooting we see in schools, they now subject children to some kind of a drill on what to do when they hear gunshots, on what to do. Even children, I'm not talking about even secondary school, I mean primary school, young kids. What do you propose we do? Because we can't continue to wait for people to pick us up and then people look for money that they don't have.
Okay, I think it's best time for us to speak the truth to ourselves. And as a leader in the civil society organization system in the Federal Republic, I will say with all sense of responsibility that in addition to the efforts of government, security still becomes a local exercise. And then with all sense of responsibility to all of us as citizens of this Federal Republic, we should have it at the back of our mind that we cannot all our presence of security personnel, from military to the police to the paramilitary and so on and so forth, in all nook and cranny of this Federal Republic. Of course, there is statistics that is established that we are under-policed. And of course, not dwelling into that, the truth remains that the security of life and properties remains our fundamental responsibility when government is supporting. Also, it is also good for us to have at the back of our mind that the safety of schools, yes, we have, for the digest of the populace, we have what is called a Safe School Initiative, which is a project, a federal government project to make sure the schools are safe. And then in the space of this, I can tell you with my, just yesterday, I was still in a meeting with the national coordinator of that very project, and I can tell it to you with all sense of responsibility that that woman is working tirelessly, even in absence of resources, passionate about what she's doing. So a lot of effort is being put in place. But the challenge is this: are those efforts being cascaded to the interior side of the country? On average, kidnappers are not likely to come to the central area in the Federal Capital Territory to say they are coming to kidnap. They will go to where they know they can have it done quietly. And that is the scope of stealing and all that. Now, but the truth remains that NOA have started something long ago that they said, if you say something, say something. No thief anywhere will come from an external environment to a particular community and come afresh. Definitely there must have always been a surveillance before they come. And then all of us taking it to as a responsibility this time, which is the call to action that is being directed to all of us in reality. Taking it as our responsibility, the safety of our immediate environment. If you see something, please say something. Don't walk as if it does not concern you. Don't walk because you have a privilege of taking your sons and daughters out of the country for their safety. Therefore, the safety of common people does not concern you. Don't forget the popular saying that the son and daughter of those who we don't train well today will give your own son and daughter which you have well trained problem tomorrow. So it becomes an empirical exercise for all of us to gear up to the responsibility of security. Now, back to another point I would like to establish. I won't sell this that government is actually trying their best. It boils down to us to come up or to develop that sense of responsibility. However, there are some structures that is needed to put in place by the government. Under the Safe School initiative, there are some paraphernalias, there are some things, there are some milestones or basics that are expected for every school to have. I put it to you directly that good percentage of our schools in this country are not even well fenced.
So,
how then
Mr. Yedija, so my apologies. Let me come in. So let's build on that within this time. Now, I'm looking at, I like to talk data because data is how you're able to plan. Nigeria has over 1,700 or 800 polling units. Somebody even said, when it comes to development, the politicians and the political class, they have 1,001 excuses why development won't get to everywhere at the same time. But when it comes to election, no matter how rural that area is, these polling units will be active. Votes will come from those areas. So there has to be a demand of the people. But you've made a very valid point. And this time, let's talk about the local government area because everything is local. What are the barest, is it barest minimum, that's the right word, that every school must have as long as security of lives and property is concerned? Should we insist that every primary school must have, every school may have a CCTV? What exactly has to happen? Because we can't keep folding our hands and our children get killed, get kidnapped. We pay ransom in some cases.
Let's say this to ourselves. The truth is the truth at anywhere and at any point. When we are talking about safety of our children and safety of our schools, we have some basics that need to be in place. However, it's a failed man or a failed leader that will put to giving excuse. And that is Adamic nature. We can't cast it all away. But notwithstanding, let us... You don't have anything in public office if you are not ready to be responsible for the life and properties of the environment you are actually leading. And then I used to say that it is permitted for you to copy and paste. We all travel around the world and we all see or have the story of development of several nations. We can basically copy and paste this in our country. The bedrock of any development of any serious nation is infrastructural development. So therefore, it is key that we should come to reality of our condition in this country, that government should wake up to responsibility and work on infrastructural development in this federal republic. If you are, like you said, the statistic, the figure you gave of 1,700 polling units and so on. Now, if, or the figure, whatever the right figure of the number of polling units is, let us make it mandatory. As it stands today, the telecommunication firm only work and make sure there is adequate services, signals, in areas where they know they are making good profit. But as a country, let us make it mandatory that every schools or any location close to a schools in Federal Republic of Nigeria, there is active internet connection or telecom services. Let's make it mandatory. All of you. They should, you know, there is planning in their development, in their site. They have a site planning system. Let us make sure all schools, make sure there is presence, a telecom service present close to every school or in every school. Then We should also work in the SSI. It's one of their basics that all schools should be fenced. Now, nothing stopped us from, okay, if governments can so work on the school being well secured in terms of the infrastructure. Of course, you can make it mandatory for the telecom company, make sure there is telecommunication infrastructure close to every school or in every school. Then, at the same time, the school is fenced. These are what government can do. Then you can then push that to the excuse me. You can then put that after that. You can then put the responsibility to the environment, the community, the communists that take up responsibility. Watch your perimeters. Make sure your area is safe. Even if government is now putting one security at the gate, then let us. That is the way we are doing life as Africans before the advent of all this whatever they are bringing to us from the Western nations.
All right.
We are well protected in those. Even when we have more bushes than we have today, we are not having this. And for record's sake, there's a saying, there's a school of thought that said, for anything, any mayhem or anything that is not normal to linger beyond the normal, it has the hand of the leaders in it. For the issue of the North, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but we need to tell ourselves the truth that to the record we have recorded in Oriire today, if all, and to that, the background is all the government agencies work in synergy. Let the same thing play out in all those places we are having this kind of thing. Let it not be a business with the government and those terrorists.
All right. Ms. Ayodija, there's a lot to explore, but time will not allow us because it's just very tiring that we're just trying to heave a sigh of relief from Oriire, and people were writing exams, they were writing NECO. Both the students, teacher, and the invigilator have been carried by the abductors. The Kogi State government is on it, promising that they will get them released. So it's just sad that we can't continue to sit down and wait for these things to happen, despite the efforts of the security agencies. So
excuse me, let me quickly put a voice to this. Can I quickly put a voice to this?
10 seconds, 10 seconds. We're totally out of time.
What Kogi State is doing today is being reactive. It is not the first time this is happening in Kogi and its environment. Let the government start being proactive. Okay. This is something that is going around. Government should take responsibility at this moment. Communities should also take responsibility. Let's be active and stop being reactive. Let's be serious.
We must thank you so much for coming. We appreciate the security agencies for the effort, but a lot more has to be done. Oluwasegun Oyedijo is the Southwest coordinator of the Coalition of Civil Society on Out of School. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
That's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. We hope our schools and all of us will be safe. And we appreciate the efforts of the security agencies for their efforts, but more has to be done. Thank you for your time. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.